Hey YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alex, and you notice it's not just Alex, it's Alex with the quotes. And you might be wondering what's with the quotes. Well, a couple of years ago I wrote these blog posts, and these blog posts got written about by Vice magazine, which is like a news website, and they talked about it by saying, according to a blog post by a hacker who goes by the name Alex, with the air quotes, and that's my real name. And so, I don't know, when someone tells you your hacker name is your name in quotes, then I guess it's your hacker name now. So, please, welcome along to this. I guess this is my life now. I also help out with this other security conference called PurpleCon, which is a security conference that instead of looking like this, looks like this. And so the reason we, And so the reason we did that was because we were like, well, I thought that like hacker culture is all about like rebelling and doing your own thing. And so it seems kind of weird if everyone's rebelling in the same very specific way, which is like this, which is like, so now there's two ways, now there's this way and this way. And we're not saying there's just two ways, of course you can do however you like, but we thought it would be fun to like make this other thing. And I don't know, I realized that you can just do this, you can just make a conference and just do dumb stuff like that and no one will stop you. So amazing. Professionally, for work, I work at Atlassian and have for a couple of years now. I used to do like incident response and stuff, so like detecting hackers and like catching hackers and making it so it's harder to hack stuff. But then I changed to the red team, which was a new team. And so now basically my job is to do crimes and then write very, very detailed confession letters about exactly how it happened. And it's really fun. And the reason I'm telling you this is because I did my first red team up, like you break them up into operations, and I did my first operation about a year ago now. And it was during that operation that I found the technique that this talk is about. And so what actually is that technique? What actually are we talking about today? It's a new way, as in I don't think you could do this before I found this, so that's nice. And it's a new way to, if you have a shell, so shell means like if you have remote code execution on someone's computer. So if you haven't heard of that, like imagine like, SSH, you can SSH into your computer. What if you could SSH into someone else's computer? Wow, that would be great. And so if you already have one of those, then it lets you get the Chrome cookies of whoever's computer you're in, and it lets you do this without having root access or without knowing their password or whatever. And the reason this is novel is because, as far as I know, this is the first and only way to do it without the password, without the root access. You could always do it with the password, but this way it's easier to do. And so why do I care about that? Why do I care about Chrome cookies? What are cookies? And so on. Well, let's say that you're a sneaky criminal like me, and your goal is to basically look at the forbidden data. Like, I don't know what exactly your goal is, because everyone's a different kind of criminal, but it probably is something like, oh, the person I'm trying to hack or the company I'm trying to hack, they have some very secret, very forbidden data, like emails or something, and if I look at it, then I've hacked them. So that's probably what I'm assuming your goal is something like that. And so how do you steal this forbidden data? How do you find it? How do you look at it? Well, usually I ask myself, how does the legit person or how does the legit company look at their own forbidden data? And well, one way to think about that is, well, what's the most commonly used software? What's the most frequent way that they do things? And well, most employees probably make their web browser as their most frequent software, because that's where everything lives, and websites. And so like, oh, look, there it is. Oh, hey, Google Chrome. Hey, what's going on? You look very nice and updated today. And so, if you don't know Google Chrome, by the way, I should mention, it's that thing that you install as soon as you get a new computer that takes like 16 gigabytes of RAM to run, because you have so many tabs, and all your tabs, it takes up so many tabs because I'm in desperate need of professional services to manage my crippling tab addiction, so I can stop buying really expensive gamer RAM to store all of my tabs if I had to not have so many tabs. That's the one. If you don't know it, now you do. Welcome. And so how's Chrome actually going to help us? So here's this company that we're trying to hack, or this person or whatever. In my case, it was a company. And they have the forbidden data somewhere. And then they have all this stuff for getting the forbidden data. They have like database passwords and firewalls and SSH keys and AWS or however they store. There's this very complicated way of getting to this data. But then there's the person who wants to get their own data. So like, I don't know, maybe it's their own emails or something. And when they want to get the forbidden data, they don't do this complicated, they don't go through the SSH database firewall, something. They just talk to Google Chrome and they say, hey, Google Chrome, can I have my data? And Google Chrome is like, hey, and asks the website to just give them the data. And I don't know about you, but if I was doing this, I would do it the top way rather than the bottom way. That seems a lot easier. So how do you actually do that? Because imagine if you were logged into somebody else's Google Chrome. Imagine if you had this screen. Like if you could log into someone else's browser, you could just click things and you'd be already logged in as them and be able to see all their stuff. You could do a lot of crimes with that. Isn't this a very enticing screenshot? Isn't this really, calm down, it's only a picture, but still, obviously we want to log into someone else's browser and then go absolutely wild with whatever we find in there. And maybe you're thinking, but I already have a shell on their computer. I can already execute code on their computer. I can already do anything they can do. Why do I need to do this? Why do I need to log into their browser? Why do I need to log into Chrome? I am them. I can move their mouse and click on things. So surely you win if you already have a shell. Yes, except for these bad boys who are out to ruin your life as a stylish criminal. These are various ways of doing two-factor authentication. And even if you have control of someone's computer, when someone texts you a code, or when they have a YubiKey, or when they have one of those apps on their phone, you don't have access to that. So you end up in a sad situation like this, where you have a shell, but you have no two-factor auth. So maybe you can, I don't know, maybe you can tell the computer to just talk out loud, please give the codes, I don't know, maybe you're desperate. And so this is the situation in which this is useful. Well, one of the situations, in that you have a shell on someone's laptop or whatever, their computer, and you want to log into all their stuff, and maybe, but of course that shell won't give you their two-factor auth codes, and so you can't always log into things. But once you've logged into a website, once you've done your SMS code to your phone, or once you've done your security key thing, once you've done your security key, well then you don't have to do another two-factor auth code, do you? You're already logged in. So what if you could just already be logged in as them and skip the two-factor code thing? So let me show you how cookies work. This is how I think about it anyway. So when you want to log into a website, you'd be like, hey, can I see my email? And the website's like, no. And you're like, okay, fine, fair enough, I should log in. Here you go, here's my stuff, here's my email address, here's my password, here's my two-factor code. And these things are all this is all difficult information to get. It's hard to know someone's password, the two-factor code changes every minute or whatever. This is hard information to get. And then the website says, cool, you're logged in, but also next time you want to log in, don't worry about all that stuff that you just said. Don't worry about knowing your password. Don't worry about doing your two-factor login. Don't worry about any of that. Here's this cookie. Here's this, this is what a cookie is, by the way. A session cookie is basically another kind of password that lives on your computer. So next time you log in, don't worry about that. Just use this thing. And I'm suddenly very interested in this thing. So here's how it works when you're logging in for real. When you want to log in the next time, you say, hey, I want to log in. Here's this magical code thing. And it says, oh, yeah, I remember you. No worries. Here's the stuff. Don't worry about logging in. And you just get it for free. And so, now that we're all thinking like hackers, obviously this is the good stuff, and we want to be all about this. This is the thing you want to find. Passwords, email addresses, two-factor codes, that sounds very difficult. This looks very easy. Boy, would I like to have this, but for every single website. So now we decided that we care about this thing. How do you actually get this thing? Well, if you're on somebody's computer already, here it is. If on OS X, for example, it lives in this file right here. And so you could just, since we have code execution on their computer, we can just read this file, and the cookies are there. But in this file, the cookies are encrypted, so you can't just read them because they're encrypted, and you would have to decrypt them somehow if you wanted to actually use them. So it's not that easy. And here is the old way of stealing cookies this way needs root access, but here's what you do. It used to be you get this magical file, and then the decryption key to this file is stored in the user's login keychain, so you need to get their root password to log into the login keychain, and then get the decryption key out of there, which is called the Chrome Safe Storage key. Then you use that key to decrypt the cookies, and now you have the cookies. And so this works, and you can do it and everything, but you need root access, and also it's kind of complicated. Whereas I'm saying you can just magically run this command that I made, and it will just do it for you. Wow, doesn't that seem convenient? Let me explain how that works. Oh, and also if you're wondering why the Google Chrome specifically, why are we talking about Google Chrome? Well, the answer was because Google Chrome was the browser that I had to attack when I found this thing during a red team op, and I wanted to show you the name of the code name of that red team op because we have to give them all code names because I thought it was good. And so yeah, I found this in Operation Actual Crimes, and I think this is very good because it's very funny to hear very important high-level CEOs say, well, because of Operation Actual Crimes, we have to change it. They're not laughing at all, but I think it's very funny. So in this operation, the plan was something like this. Step one is get a shell on someone's computer, and then get root access to their computer, and then use these two things to get their browser cookies, and then log into all the stuff, upwards trending graph, business deals, forbidden data, and so on. But things don't always work out, and this is my first time doing this, so for whatever reason, we didn't have root access to this person's computer. We didn't have the password, but we still really wanted to log into the stuff. We still really wanted to log into everything. And so one of my teammates said, well, it must be possible to get someone's cookies without having root access, since the user can get their own cookies. If you're in your own computer, you can click around in Google Chrome to this screen, and it will show you all your cookies. And you didn't have to type in your password to get that. It's just there. So there must be some way to do it. And I was like, that's a really good point. Maybe there is some way to do it. I hadn't really thought of that. And so this prompted a lot of thinking and made me wonder, well, does Chrome have an API or some way for me to just ask Chrome to give me the cookies? So surely it's not that easy. Does Chrome have some way for me to just be like, hey, can you give me the cookies, please? Will Chrome just give them to me? Is that possible? That was the first thing I thought of. And This prompted a lot of furious Googling as I tried to understand how Google Chrome works, how it stores cookies, what are cookies, where does Chrome find them, because I don't know anything about this. Because, this is my first time doing this, and I had a lot of questions. Anyway, so after doing all of that Googling and other ones that weren't on the screen, this and some guidance from a friend led me to see this Node.js library on GitHub called Puppeteer. Now, why? I'm trying to hack Google Chrome, I'm trying to steal someone's cookies. Why am I reading about this Node.js library? Well, very critically, this library mentions two things. It mentions the DevTools protocol, and it mentions Headless. And these two things are going to be our friends and allies in this adventure. I didn't know that at the time. So I had to learn how Google Chrome deals with cookies, and so here's how it works. First, we're going to talk about Headless. What does that mean? There's this mode in Chrome called Headless Chrome. And so that means it's the same Google Chrome that you all know, but it doesn't show anything on the screen. It's all happening in the terminal. It's all happening in text form. There's no windows pop up. There's no drawing of anything. You can just run Chrome entirely in the terminal. This is deeply powerful and probably going to all go wrong someday. But until now, it's very useful for if you're doing automation and stuff. This is a really useful thing. But for me, I want to be criminal. If I can run Google Chrome on someone else's computer without it popping up a window, that's very good. Yes, please, I'd like to do that. However, it's not that easy, because when you use if you run Headless Chrome on your computer, it's not you. It's not logged in as you. So if you went to Gmail, it wouldn't give you your email. It would just give you the Gmail login screen, because it doesn't know who you are for some reason. And so fair enough. But I wanted to know, can you make Headless Chrome be you? Can you make it log in as the real you? Is there some way to make it become the normal user rather than the special, not logged in Headless Chrome user? And well, to answer that question, I had to be well, how does Chrome know who you're logged in as? How does it decide who is using it, or who is the user that owns this? And I have to learn from somewhere. And I know Chrome has some way of knowing who's logged in because of Chrome profiles. Have you ever used Chrome profiles? It's like having multiple accounts on one Google Chrome. So you can switch between them. So your personal one and your work one, or your one for crimes, or your one for your side project or whatever. So it lets you change what you're logged into by having multiple windows. And so I know Chrome has this idea of who am I? And I know it can change between them. So maybe I can make Headless Chrome do this. I don't know. And so I did a lot more furious Googling and reading the documentation about Chrome, and I found this user data directory thing. And that looks very interesting to me, because it stores history, bookmarks, and cookies. And I'm suddenly very interested in these things. And so then I found this GitHub issue on Puppeteer where some poor person is having trouble with this user data directory and Headless Chrome, and something is going wrong with authorization. And I'm suddenly extremely interested in these things. And so I really want to help this person with their problem, or at least find out what their problem is. And I suddenly care about this a lot. So it led me to ask the question, what if I, a legitimate web developer, want to run Headless Chrome, but I want to run it as me, not as nobody? And so this website very helpfully tells me, oh, sure, no problem. You can change which user data you are by using this command line flag to Chrome. You can just choose any directory. And it doesn't say that you can use it to log in as the real person. It doesn't say you can use it to log in as an existing user. But it does say you can change the directory. And so I was like, OK, and I picked the user data directory to be the normal default place where Chrome will normally store your information. It's this one idea. And so this is I think the existence of this, the point of this user data directory flag is to make a new user data directory, because you want to make new users. But I just told Chrome to read the existing user data directory to see if it would work. I didn't know if it would work. I don't know. I don't know any more than this web page is telling me. So I tried this, and it works. If you do this, then it shows you your email inbox because it's logged in as you. So this is now you can now use your own browser that's logged in as you, but from the command line. And I was like, hey, this is pretty good. And I can now browse the internet as this person. Kind of good, but it doesn't show you your cookies. It just shows you the HTML of the page. And I tried going to the Chrome cookies settings page with HTML, or I tried trying to use JavaScript to get the cookies, but not all cookies are visible to JavaScript, but none of those things worked. So I was like, okay, I'm almost there, but I gotta, maybe it's still possible if I find some other way. And so that brings us to this other thing that I found mention of in Puppeteer, which is the Chrome DevTools protocol. Oh, does anyone know? Has anyone heard of this? It's pretty niche, so yeah, that's okay. Some people, okay. For those of you that haven't, get ready. So you know this guy, you know this good button, the right-click inspect element, how you do hacking mode. This is it not? This is what the Chrome DevTools protocol is about. So this thing, when you right-click inspect element, the little window that pops up, that's called the Chrome DevTools. That's the official name for it. And the DevTools protocol is how the Chrome DevTools talks to the actual Google Chrome thing. And so I found this page, which is the documentation for Chrome DevTools, for the DevTools protocol itself. And I was reading this, and I'm like, okay, is this how Google Chrome works? What's the deal here? And I was kind of just scrolling around, reading everything I could find. And then eventually it says, hey, if you'd like to enable remote debugging, you can run Chrome with this remote debugging flag. And this is my first time doing like a red team operation, so I don't know a lot about hacking, but I do know that the words remote and debugging are the good words that you want to find if you want to do hacking. Like if you find these good words and it leads to hacking, I do know that much. And so if you do this, then you find out that Google Chrome, if you run this magical command, it says, okay, cool, DevTools listening on WebSocket something, something, something. So I've learned that like Google Chrome is now listening on some kind of debugging language, but I don't know what is listening on this port 9222 thing. I don't know what to do now. Like I don't know what information to send to it. So maybe I can just read the docs. And so I went back to this Google Chrome documentation page, which is some page written by the people at Google who make Chrome. And so I was like, well, presumably on this page, the nice people at Google are going to graciously explain to me, an outsider who doesn't work at Google, how to use their ancient, powerful Chrome DevTools protocol magic thing. And they've updated it since I did this. I'm not saying because I did this. They've updated it since I noticed this. And they say, hey, if you want to remotely debug Chrome, you need to speak the Chrome Remote Debugging Protocol, which is like this whole special thing. And I'm ready for this page to teach me about how the protocol works and how I do it, but it basically says, we don't release that kind of information to punks like you. Like, we're not just going to tell you how it works. And so if they say, if you do want to learn how it works, they casually tell you to sniff and reverse engineer the WebSocket protocol. So they're like, if you'd like to know how it works, here are instructions for reverse engineering what it is. Enjoy, good luck. Because the only thing in the world that speaks, like the only client that speaks the Chrome DevTools protocol is Google Chrome itself. And the way that they tell you to do this is they say, now that DevTools is up in full screen, open DevTools to inspect it. This might seem kind of weird, and that's because they want you to do this. They want you to have one set of Chrome DevTools and then open another set of Chrome DevTools to inspect that first set of DevTools, and then look at the WebSocket traffic somehow, and they had some instructions to follow, and they didn't work, but then they updated the instructions, and they did work. And like, they tell you to use the Chrome DevTools to debug the Chrome DevTools themselves, and the ease with which they suggest this is very stressful for me. Because they say it very casually, and I feel like this is not casual. So like, to be clear, I want to know how Chrome DevTools work, and they're like, you got to use Chrome DevTools. And I'm like, no, please, don't make me do this. And they're like, do it. And so I really don't, like this page really wants me to go into the Chrome DevTools nightmare inception realm, but I really don't want to do that. I don't know how to use that, but I do know how to use curl. That's a great program. I like that one a lot. And so this Chrome thing sounds way too complicated, so I'm just going to try and remotely debug Chrome with curl, because I also saw this on the page, which says there's a lot of things on this page, but one very convenient thing that it casually mentions is, hey, you can go to that same WebSocket thing /JSON, and it doesn't say what's there, or it does. It says some sort of JSON object something something, and I was like, okay, maybe I can do that. And so if you do that, you get a bunch of stuff, a bunch of JSON that I don't understand to this day, but then at the bottom it says WebSocket debugger URL. And remember, I'm learning about hacking, and I've learned that debugger is the good word that you want to follow, because that's how you do hacking. And so I'm like, cool, here's this debugger URL, what is actually there? And so it's WebSockets, though, which is this different protocol entirely. So like curl doesn't speak WebSockets, it's like not HTTP, I don't know how to speak WebSockets, I don't know how to do that. So I downloaded some random WebSocket client thing and went to this URL. And when you go there, WSC, that's the WebSocket client, and I went to that URL and it says, cool, connected, and then it gives you like a greater than sign. And I don't know about you, but that looks like a shell. That looks like I can type stuff in there and commands will be executed. But it's not like a bash shell. You can't type like ls into it. It's not that kind of thing because it's not connected to bash. It's connected to the remote debugging protocol, which I still don't know how it works because I didn't use 2 layers of Chrome DevTools to reverse engineer and sniff the protocol. So I don't know, like, I think I can control Chrome with this thing, but I don't know what language to speak to it. I don't know what to say. I'm like illiterate in this language, so I needed to learn how that works. And listen, I'm just going to save you the furious Googling and reading extremely cursed Ruby from 2012 that let me find this command, but I did find it. I found the original Google Chrome bug fix ticket thing where they discuss whether to add this command, and they decided to do it, which is great. And so if you send this command, it gives you all the cookies in a big long list. And very critically, they're not encrypted. So like, we really did just ask Google Chrome, hey, can you please give me all the cookies? And it was like, yeah, okay. And so here they all are. And like, this is just one, but it's a big long list of all the cookies in the whole browser. And they're not encrypted, it's just all there. And I was like, whoa, really? Because this is like, this is what it's like. This is, wow, it's, okay, that looks really useful. And I tried it out, and I showed it to my teammate, and she was like, really? Show me. And like, screen shared and showed her, and she was like, oh, you should do a conference talk about this. This is like a big deal. And I was like, oh, okay. And so here I am. And so that was a sort of a walkthrough of all the stuff I did in my whole thought process there, and that was kind of a lot to absorb. So here it is all at once, so you can see the whole thing from start to finish on one screen. So you got to run Google Chrome, you got to run it in headless mode, you got to tell it to log in as the existing user by telling it the user data directory is the default one, and you got to make it open some page. I just use about blank, and then you got to enable remote debugging, which are the good words. Then once remote debug is happening, you got to use you got to speak WebSockets, and you got to send that very convenient get all cookies thing to the WebSocket URL that you found by using curl, and then it just gives you the good content. It just gives you the stuff. It's just all there. So that's very good for you, a wannabe hacker. For me, a wannabe hacker. And then once you have these cookies, the whole point of getting these cookies is you then put them in your own, or you can use anything, but for example, you can put them in your own browser. You could like copy paste these into your own Google Chrome, and then when you open accounts.google.com in your Google Chrome, you're logged in into someone else's Google account. And this is the good stuff. This is hacking, I think. This is what I thought. I was like, hey, nice, that's very good. So there's also a different version you can use if you don't want to speak the WebSocket protocol. Like if you don't want to download that thing, someone else on GitHub made like a JavaScript version of this, because Google Chrome itself can speak WebSockets because it's a browser. So someone made a version where you put an HTML file on their computer instead, and you open that file, and the JavaScript does all the cookie reading, and then sends the cookies to you over the internet. This way is also good. It's a trade-off. You have to write to the disk, but you don't have to have a WebSocket binary. It's your choice. And so I like using this, or I think it's good, because you don't have to have root access, you don't have to do any fiddly configuring, like it's the same thing every time. It works on all the 3 operating systems, and you don't have to write to the disk or do network communication. It's just, like, it's good, is what I'm saying. Like, it's just like, nice, I'm glad that I can use this. And so I also made a Metasploit module for this. If you don't know Metasploit, it's like this like open source hacking software that has a bunch of exploits for hacking things, and I wanted to make this widely available so anyone could use it. And so I don't know, I just put it in Metasploit because I thought lots of people use it. And so if you want to do this, here it is. You don't have to think about it, it just works for you. So when would you use this if you're a criminal? When would be an appropriate time to use this thing? Well, when do you not use this? Basically, like, I don't know, it's kind of free. Like, it doesn't really cost you anything to use, and you get these cookies, which you might be able to use. Like, what I'm saying is, like, whenever you see this, like, smash that button, and then use it, because you're going to get the good content. It's basically free. This is also, one thing I thought was interesting is the ability to do this is 2 years old. Like, this has been in Google Chrome for, like, 2 years, maybe even more now. And as far as I know, I was the first person to, like, write about it or, like, publish it or anything like that. And I just kind of stumbled into it in the middle of, like, a red team operation one day. And so I'm not really sure what the implications of this are, because, like, people are trying to hack Google Chrome all the time because people use it all the time. So it's like very valuable software to try and hack in some way. And to be clear, this is not really hacking Google Chrome. Chrome is like sort of meant to do this. But like, I was surprised that I was the first person to write about this because lots of people use it now. And so I think the real reason why nobody has written about this is because there's no like bug bounty money for finding this. Like Google won't, like no one will pay you for finding this cool exploit because it's not actually an exploit. This is a feature of Google Chrome. We're just reading the docs at this point. And so maybe people weren't going to get paid for it, so they weren't interested in it. I don't know. Or maybe this was ignored because it's officially a feature of Google Chrome, right? Like if you can execute code to someone, you can do anything they can do. Like you could just do this by moving the person's mouse and clicking around. This is not like a increase of like privilege, I guess. This is the same amount of privilege as you always have. It's just easier. But I don't really know the answer. If you know, please tell me. What if you don't want this to happen to you? What if you want to prevent this? In the worlds of Neil deGrasse Tyson, the solution there, seems to me, is to create unhackable systems. I think about this tweet a lot, and so I wanted to share it with you. If you want this attack to be not used against you, I can wholeheartedly recommend not letting someone else execute code on your computer. And the industry standard best practice for this is to rapidly acquire blessed amulets or mysterious crystals or like pay-as-you-go racketeering schemes to prevent the execution of this code on your computer. I think at the point where someone's executing code on your computer, it's too late. There is also this whole channel-bound cookies thing, which would prevent this, which is like using public key cryptography to like you sign the cookies and the server also like validates that you are who you say you are, so you can't move the cookies to a new device. But this is really complicated, and your computer has to implement it, and the other computer has to implement it. And there are also privacy concerns because now they're tracking which device you're using. So basically, no one uses this. It's currently in Google Chrome, but I read like a public discussion where they're going to remove it because no one uses it. So, In terms of detection, like how can you detect if this has happened to you? Who can detect whether this has happened to you? In theory, Google or whichever website you're moving the cookies from, they know that they gave the cookie to a certain like browser, operating system, IP address, or some other device fingerprint thing. And so they can attempt to detect when the cookie gets moved. So sometimes some websites like Gmail or Twitter will sometimes log you out of your account if you move your cookie to a different machine or to a different something. And this is controlled by the website, and they decide whether to log you out if they think you're being dodgy. And so I asked someone who works at Google how this would work, like how this thing works, and they said machine learning, which is the kind of thing that you would say if you just wanted me to stop asking about this. So, so I don't know. But in this situation, you have a shell on the other person's computer, so you can proxy all your traffic through their computer, so you would look like them from a networking point of view anyway. So it's not all bad news. You can probably get around it either way. I also told Google about this just in case. I wasn't going to, but then someone I work with was like, no, you should tell them in case they decide to change it. I thought that like Google already know, like I got all this from the official Google documentation. They know that it's possible to do this, but I thought I'd tell them just in case anyway. And so I told them, and they were like, yep, that's fine. It's supposed to do that. It's okay. We made it this way. That's all right. And they were like, it's kind of weird that you can, make Headless Chrome log in as you, but like, it's fine. That's what I got out of this. And so, okay, good, officially signed off. And what did I learn from doing all of this? This is like my first time doing like a proper red team operation thing. And so I learned that sometimes hacking feels like just try-harding aggressively, like just furiously reading the docs or figuring out how it works and just trying a lot to try and find something that no one else has found or that people aren't expecting. And that was fun. And I also learned that having hacker friendos or people who know about this kind of thing or know about similar things to like point you in the right direction, like my teammate who said, well, it should be possible to read Chrome cookies because the user can read their own cookies. That saves a lot of time and effort. It's really helpful because since doing hacking is so undocumented, there's no like steps to follow. There's no real guide to it, and so the community, like other people who know about this, is the best thing we have. And so it really helps being able to talk to those people or being in that community. And I also learned that the trade-off between having features and having stuff that's called attack surface, but like stuff you can hack, is very real, and that's why this technique exists. Like the people at Google, they didn't make the Chrome remote debugging protocol for kids like me to try and hack Google Chrome. They made it for some other reason. They made it for people to do like browser automation and stuff, so you can like run your tests and actually remote control Chrome to like automatically test your website. And that's very convenient for those people who want to do automatic testing, but it's also very convenient for people like me who want to like break into things. So it's a trade-off, and if you have a lot of features, then it can make it so there's more stuff to hack, but also you get to have lots of features, so you have to decide how much risk you want to take. That's what I learned. Oh, and also, you also might be wondering, like, hey, we're at PyCon, so like, what does this, like, you might be wondering, what does this have to do with Python, the programming language that we're here for? Like, what does this talk have to do with Python? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for speaking with us. I'm not going to try and jump this. I will let Chris do it. Thank you very much for speaking. We've got a 10-minute break now, so if you want to grab a drink and go to the bathroom, we'll be here.